Angela serves as the senior rabbi at Central Synagogue in New York and is the author of this book, Heart of a Stranger.
Susan is also a best-selling book author. She wrote Too Blessed to Be Stressed, and she published my fabulous 5th chapter. Both women, prolific writers.
And we want to welcome both of them to the show right now. Angela, let me start with you, Rabbi, because at this particular juncture of Passover, Good Friday, Easter, all sort of coinciding, my thoughts are certainly with the level of civilian suffering that we are seeing right now in various countries across the world. The first 2 countries that come to my mind are the innocent civilians in Lebanon, where we have seen a lot of people displaced by war and obviously a lot of people who have been killed, and also the civilian population in Iran, where a lot of these people have no say in what is happening in terms of their countries going to war. And as we talk about, I'm not sure if you heard our conversation with our previous guests speaking about astronauts in space, talking about just seeing the Earth as this blue dot and how we are all one. You know, we are at a time of so much division right now. And I think my question to you is, how can we support justice for our own people while at the same time not losing compassion for people who worship differently to us?
At different times in history, different peoples have either been the ones who had power or have been powerless. And for so much of Jewish history, we have been the ones without power. And the mandate of that moral memory is that actually that we are not to oppress others because we know what it is to have the heart of a stranger. We were strangers in the land of Egypt. That is straight out of the story that we not only retell at Passover every year in our Seder around tables, but it's actually not supposed to be ancient history, but something that each of us are supposed to imagine ourselves as being slaves. And so it is actually the mandate of that is a different kind of moral empathy.
Rabbi, if I could pick up, it's good to see you again. Last night, at the second night of Seder, we reflected on the profound weight of the Exodus story, obviously, that we tell every year. And we noted that this was the first year that we've observed Passover since October 7th, that there aren't Israeli Jewish hostages being held in tunnels against their will in Gaza. And I'm wondering, as you are speaking to your community and congregation, how you are advising the diaspora in the world to really reflect upon this moment.
I think I used the hostage Haggadah last year and used clips from it. And I did not imagine that in 1 year that we could actually have every single living hostage and even those who were deceased back home. I didn't think it was possible. So I think what we're reminded of is that much can change even in just 1 year. And it doesn't just happen through prayers and hopes and faith, but it also happens through human agency. And I think that the constant reminder of our Seder is that each of us have to actually be the ones who reach out for the outstretched arm that God proffers for us, that we can't actually just sit by and wait for the miracles to happen, that we also have to take the first steps into that Red Sea as well.
Reverend, let me bring you in, because I think one of the things that makes me really sad is that as a people and as a race, we as humans sort of seem to have lost sight of what religion is actually supposed to be about. We have so much that unifies us. I mean, at the end of the day, the Christian, the Jew, and the Muslim will all tell you that they have prayed to a higher power and seen miracles. Every religion that I can think of on earth has its central teaching, loving one another, that love is the most powerful force, and not just loving people when it's easy, by the way, loving people when it is hard, loving people who obviously might be different, might worship differently from you, might be of a different background, a different race. I mean, all of these sorts of silly excuses that we use to justify why we hate each other. Every religion talks about love. Just explain to us from your perspective, why have we lost sight of what religion is supposed to mean?
Well, thank you. First of all, let me wish happy Passover to Rabbi and blessed Holy Weekend to Christians all over the world. We've lost sight because people have lost hope. And what's important with us, this is Holy Week, which are the last days that Christ was alive, and people were somber and they were hopeless. But then on Good Friday, women went to the tomb. So it's important that you have women speaking today, and they found that there was a resurrected Christ. And so we brought hope at the end of what looked like despair. And I think people have just forgotten how to hope again, that what looks impossible can have a possibility. And that we're following this segment of NASA is really important because, like you said, we're one blue dot when you look at all of us. And when you look at us together, we find more of the common ground than what makes us different. Rabbi and myself are friends, different approaches to the divine, but we still find the common humanity and the love between us. And I think that that's what's important, to find the commonalities, not look at the differences. And that's what makes us blessed and really favored.
I love to hear that the two of you are friends. It is no coincidence that we have 4 women. No offense to our men, or our male viewers and the men we love in our lives, but it was very important for us to have 2 women of faith here speaking to our viewers. And Rabbi, in addition to all the strife in the world, we've also covered at great lengths the rise in anti-Semitism, the sharp rise in anti-Semitism over the last few years. We know it has been with Jews in this world for millennia here. But in this reality, in 2026, when Jews in New York City, the largest Jewish community outside of Israel itself, feel nervous and apprehensive about attending services, about going to synagogues, given the attacks that we've seen around the world, how do you balance both? The need for security, to see armed guards outside of temples, to give some sort of support and address anxiety among those congregants, but also not to instill just this level of fear to be Jewish in America today.
It is a shame that we have to have armed guards outside our synagogues now, and my synagogue has had to do this for over a decade already. But I do think that part of what happens is that when you walk in the door, you immediately enter into sanctuary. And that's not just the physical space, but it's the outlook and the music and the joy and the sense of sanctity that's in there. And so I think that we cross into a threshold, and that's part of what sacred space can do for us, is it's not just the physical environment, but it's actually a spiritual uplift that happens. And I think we transcend what we leave behind at the door when we come in. And that's, I think, the power of what spiritual community can do for each other. There is so much joy and power, and our sanctuary has been overflowing through the balconies for months. And really, in some ways, since October 7th, we have never been more full. And I know that's a story that's echoed in synagogues around the world. So while we are definitely seeing a rise in the world's oldest hatred of anti-Semitism, unfortunately, and even in New York, this city of so many Jews in America, we actually have also seen our strength and our resilience and our joyfulness in being together.
Reverend, let me ask you the final question.
Can I add, as an African American,
yes, go ahead.
I want to just add something to that. As an African American, certainly, and a child of the civil rights movement, we've had to have security for years. And now there's also the rise of nationalism, Christian nationalism, also threatening us again. So there's security for us as well. And so I think, at Reverend Rabbi's point, we find joy in the sanctuary, and we find places that we can come together and overcome what oppresses us, and to reject those things which divide us.
Reverend, also, at this time we're seeing, yes, a lot of anti-Semitism. Obviously, we've seen anti-Semitism for centuries, but also Islamophobia as well. So my question to you, Reverend, is for those of us who are not Muslim at this time and not Jewish, how can we show love and compassion for our Jewish and Muslim brothers and sisters?
And I think also Christians who are African Americans are experiencing the same thing, was my point. And I think what we do to show love is that we do things together, such as come together in this broadcast. But there have been Passover Christian Seders together. There are things that we do with the Islamic community. And the reason Rabbi and I came together was a partnership of faith in New York City, where rabbis and temple leaders and Christian leaders came together, and we decided we're going to be friends. We're going to be more than just colleagues and peers. run big steeples, but we're going to exchange our lives and partner together. And I think when we do that on a small scale and the leadership models what that can be and not divided, I think that that spreads out to the broader community. So we're so glad that we came back together after all of these years, and we have pledged to be friends and colleagues to one another, but we hope that those who follow also will see that as well.
Well, Reverend, you are the embodiment of faith-based diplomacy. We are so glad that we've ended the show this week, this Holy Week, with the two of you with us. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom and for your friendship, Rabbi Angela Buchdahl and Reverend Suzanne Johnson Cook. We appreciate you taking time out with us.